the pile, make the whole town glad. They talk that noise, we just let it build, and we hit that line, and the whole thing still. Hear that roar rise, feel that ground shake. One more drive now, one more first place. Keep that pressure on, don't blink, don't fall. When the whistle blows, we go full go. NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. Who wants it now? Who wants it now? NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. We don't back down, we don't back down. Mud on the cleats, ice in the grim. 4 quarters long, but we still all in. Clock bleeding out, still making plays. Got a whole defense built to ruin your day. Home crowd loud, hands in the sky. Every fourth down, we don't ask why. Hit the edge quick, cut through the seam. One shot, one win, that's the Southside dream. Hit that. We will ride, roll, rise, feel that ground shake. One more drive now, one more first place. Keep that pressure on, don't blink, don't fall. When the whistle blows, we go full go. NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. Who wants it now? Who wants it now? NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. We don't back down, we don't back down. One division, 4 hard names, 1 trophy, 4 wild games. If you want it, come take your shot. We came for the heat and we want it all. NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. Who wants it now? Who wants it now? NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. We don't back down, we don't back down. NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. NFC South Showdown, NFC South Showdown. We don't back down, we don't back down.
Here we go, folks. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? What about now? What about now? No? All right. Okay. All right, folks. We're in today. Welcome. A little late today. Little late today. Little late. We're gonna go ahead and jump right into this. So let's go ahead and move this over here. All right. We're gonna go ahead and let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is my beautiful little? There it is. There we go, folks. All right. We're gonna go ahead and shrink this a little bit. There we go, folks. There we go. There we go. All right. Last week we predicted the Rams over the Broncos. This week we're going to go a little foolish. Next week we'll go a little bit towards where I again, and then that final week before the regular season, we'll hopefully have everyone on and we will make our actual predictions for the season. So let's go ahead and kick this off on Wednesday Night Football between the Patriots and the Seahawks. I'm going to go ahead and pick Seattle here. I think the Patriots are going to have they're going to have a different season this year. They're not going to be as good as they were last year. Their schedule this year is a lot tougher. All right, so then we got the Friday game in Melbourne, Australia. We got the 49ers versus the Rams. I'm taking the Rams still here. I'm still taking the Rams here. And now let's go ahead and move on to, where's our Thursday night game? We have a Thursday night game. Where is it? What the hell? I could have sworn there was a Thursday night game, but there's not on here. Okay. All right. I guess they're treating Friday. I could have sworn there was a Thursday night game, but I could be wrong. I'm gonna double check that. I could have sworn there was a Thursday night game, but I'm wrong. I could be wrong. So yeah, there is. It's the 49ers and Rams, but that's Friday. That doesn't make any sense. Did they move this to Wednesday? Did they move this to Thursday? This has to be Thursday, not Friday, because that makes no sense. Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, Thursday. It is Thursday. Okay, it is Friday. Thursday. There is no Friday game. That just threw me off. That's supposed to say Thursday. All right, so we'll start from here. Go here. No, we'll start from here down, move over, and then we'll finish with Monday. So Bears, Panthers. I'm going Chicago here, week 1. I think they have the better matchup. They're the better team. I think Carolina has lost a good amount of good pieces in the injuries, so I think it's going to take Carolina. Carolina also starts very slow towards the beginning of the season. I'm taking Detroit over the Saints right now. I'm starting to slow down on the Saint train. Some injuries here. They will not have Jordan Tyson for a while. They knew that going into the draft, so they still drafted him. So the offense is not going to be this explosive as people think. Looked good yesterday, though, in the preseason. Vikings, Packers. I'm taking Packers here. Packers always have the Vikings number. Eagles, Commanders. I'm taking Eagles here, but I do think I'm going to have them split. We'll do the Sunday Night Football after we finish the rest of Sunday's games. Pittsburgh, Atlanta. After Atlanta's performance on Friday, I don't know. I'm going to pick Pittsburgh here. I think the Falcons are. This is going to be a season where the Atlanta Falcons are just going to worry about their rookies and getting people developed and getting ready for next year. Potentially drafting a quarterback in the draft. Bucks, Bengals. I'm taking the Bengals here. I think Cincinnati is going to be really explosive this year. I'm not even going to mention this one. I'm taking Chargers over Cardinals. Titans, Jets. I'm taking Cam Ward and Carnell Tate to win this game. Texans, Bills. I'm always going to go with Texans here. The Texans have had the Bills number in Houston. I don't think it'll change here. Jags are going to beat the Browns here. I got the Ravens beating the Colts week 1, and then I have the Raiders beating the Dolphins. And then finally, I have the here, hold on. We're going to do that. And then right now, it's Sunday Night Football. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take the Giants. I think the Giants get an explosive win to start the season. And then I'm going to take the Broncos over the Chiefs. The Broncos look like a really serious contender this year. That is week 1. So let's move into week 2. We have some good matchups. Thursday Night Football is Buffalo, Detroit. Both Buffalo coming off a loss. Detroit coming off a win here. I think Buffalo at home in their home opener, their first ever game in the new Highmark Stadium. The place is going to be rocking. The Bills, let me rephrase that. The first game in the regular season, because I believe they play a game in preseason there. The Bills will be rocking the fans. The Bills Mafia will be rocking. I have the Bills winning over Detroit here. So let's go ahead and move. We're going to move down this way and go from this way. And then I don't know what the Sunday Night Football game is on week 2, so let's go ahead and check. What is week 2's matchup? Sunday Night Football is Kansas City, Indianapolis. Okay, so that'll be this one. All right, so we'll go from here, down here, and then we'll finish off with Rams and Chargers. Bears, Vikings. Vikings got the best of the Bears last year in the first matchup. I'm going to go ahead and say they're going to do it again here. They get a big win here in Chicago. Chicago coming off a big win against Carolina. Falcons, Panthers. I'm taking Atlanta here. I think Atlanta gets a win here. Carolina I think it's going to start off slow. Seahawks. Cardinals are not winning. Commanders. Cowboys. I think the Cowboys turn around and respond and get a big win. Responding after a loss in MetLife. We move on here. Eagles will beat up on the Titans. I think the Bucks respond here, get a big win here at home against the Cleveland Browns. I have the Packers beating the Jets here. I have the Ravens beating the Saints. So the Ravens start 2-0. Saints start 0-2 here in this scenario. I'm going to go on a limb and say I think the 49ers will be healthy enough to beat the Dolphins here. Texans Bengals, this is going to be a good matchup, but I'm going to go and say the Bengals come in and get a win over the Texans here. I think this is the year that the Bengals really, they always start slow, but I feel like this year will be the year that their defense takes a big step towards being at least good enough for Joe Burrow to lead the team. And I think the Bengals are going to be sneaky good this year. Pittsburgh, New England. New England coming off a loss to Seattle. They're going to respond and beat the Steelers here. As like I said, the Steelers beat the Falcons. They beat a Falcons team that doesn't have a quarterback and that has health issues right now. A lot of their stars are hurt. The Patriots. This is where I think they get a big win. Commanders, Chargers. I'm taking not Commanders. Raiders, Chargers. I'm taking the Chargers here. Chargers start 2-0. This is going to be a good matchup, but unfortunately for the Jags, I'm taking the Denver Broncos, and here I have the Chiefs responding, getting a win over the Colts. And then finally, Monday Night Football, I have the Rams beating the Giants. That will be your Week 2 prediction. Let's move into Week 3. All right, we have Thursday Night Football, Falcons, Packers. Packers are 2-0, riding high. Atlanta, 1-1. Atlanta doesn't fare well in Green Bay. The bias is coming out of me, and I have Atlanta coming in Green Bay and getting a big victory. The Falcons, for some reason, have had Jordan Love's number these past few games. So it's no shock. I wouldn't be shocked if they go into Green Bay and get a big win. I still think Atlanta will not make the playoffs this year. I think they'll round out with like 5, 6, 7 wins again, and they'll find their quarterback in the middle of the first round. Now we're gonna, like I said, we'll move down here across. I'm assuming the Sunday Night Football game is Denver Rams, but I could be wrong. Nope, Denver Rams. I mean, who the fuck wants to see the Patriots and Jags in Sunday Night Football? All right, Seahawks, Commanders. I have the Commanders coming in here, getting a win, finally getting a win in the season. Their second game at home, I think. The first game at home, right? Yeah, first game at home, the home opener. In 2 years, they will 3 years, 4 years, they will no longer be at that shitty stadium. So the Commanders, I don't know what to say about that. But still, I'm looking forward to that brand new stadium in 4 years. That is the goal right now, is 2030 to have that stadium built. Cardinals, 49ers. 49ers beat the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are the worst team in football right now. I think they're going to be fighting for Arch Manning. Bucks, Vikings, this is a good matchup. Tampa has had Minnesota's number. I think it does not change here. I think they beat Minnesota right here. Let's move into Giants, Titans. I'm going to go ahead and take the Giants here. Giants improved to 2-1. Titans improved, fall to 1-2. Carolina, Cleveland. Carolina gets their first win of the season here. Big win in Cleveland. Cleveland is going to be really bad this year. I don't trust Shedeur Sanders at all. Detroit versus the Jets. The Lions coming off a loss to the Bills. They respond with a ass whooping of the Jets in a greater proportion. Saints, Raiders. I have the Saints getting their first win of the season. Raiders, again, probably like last year, will falter. I think around this time is when Mendoza will get the start after week 3. Ravens, Cowboys. I think the Cowboys swoop in and get the win against the Ravens. Let's move up here. Dolphins, Chiefs. I have the Chiefs beating the Dolphins. Dolphins start 0-3. Dolphins are going to be one of the worst teams in baseball. One of the worst teams in football. Colts, Texans. The Colts usually always play the Texans hard. I think the Texans lose 2 straight after beating Buffalo at home. Buffalo Chargers, coming off a big win at home. I think the Buffalo Bills coming off a huge win in their home opener. I think they sleep on the Chargers here, and the Chargers turn around and beat the Bills at home during week 3. Bengals and Steelers. Steelers always tend to play Bengals tough. But I think the Bengals are the better roster overall. I think they have the better quarterback overall. I don't trust, and I think, honestly, I don't trust either head coaches. So And then finally, before we get into the two primetime games, we have the Jags and the Patriots. I think the Jags respond after losing to the Broncos to get a big win against the Patriots. I have the Broncos potential preview matchup of the Super Bowl this season. I have the Broncos beating the Rams here to improve to 3-0. Finally, Bears, Eagles. I have the Bears going home, beating the Eagles, getting a big victory to improve to 2-1. All right, let's move into week 4. Our Thursday night primetime game is not even a primetime game, in my opinion. It's terrible. We have Cleveland versus Pittsburgh, and I'm going to take Pittsburgh in this matchup. I think the Browns are trash. All right, so we're going to move down from this way across, but we're going to start with this game here, the international game. Commanders, Colts. I'm taking the Commanders here. Commanders improved to 2-2. Bengals, Jaguars. I'm taking the Jags here in this situation. I think the Bengals finally lose their first game of the season here. I think also within the same week, the Cleveland or the Baltimore Ravens tie Cincinnati, but they have yet to play in the division. Bills, Patriots. I'm taking the Bills here. I think the Bills sweep the. I'm going to say right now, I think the Bills are going to sweep the Patriots this year. Chiefs, Raiders. I'm taking Chiefs as the Chiefs improve to 3-1 here. Jets are still looking for that first win of the season. The Bears will not give it to them. I think the Texans respond against the Cowboys, get a big win here in week 4. As we move on, Seattle versus LA. I think the Chargers go into Seattle and get a big win. I think the Seahawks are going to have a huge hangover. I still think they're going to find a way to make the playoffs, but they're going to have a huge Super Bowl hangover. I have the Broncos beating the 49ers here. Then I have the Dolphins going into Minnesota getting a big win, getting their first win of the season. Giants, Cardinals. I have the Giants beating the Cardinals here, improving to 3-1. Cardinals fall to 0-4. A good matchup here, but I have finally the Rams beating the Eagles here, winning 3-1. Green Bay and Tampa Bay. I have Green Bay going into Tampa Bay and getting a big win over the Bucks. Panthers, Lions. I think the Panthers get a big win here against Detroit at home. They played very well at home last year. I think that'll continue the success. Monday Night Football says it's a sleeper potential. A lot of talk, and because this is more of a goofy pick, a lot of talk is that the Falcons are going to get their ass kicked on Monday night against the Saints. I think the Falcons turn around and get a big win here over the Saints on the road. They always tend to play well. They always tend to split with the Saints as well. So we move into week 5. This is the game that I will be attending, the Ravens and Falcons. We kick it off here between the Cowboys and the Bucks. I think the Cowboys beat the Bucks here. I'm going to go on the same. I think the Saints beat the Vikings. I think the Commanders beat the Giants here. I got the Cardinals upsetting the Lions here. I got the Seahawks beating the 49ers. And then I got the Packers beating the Bears because the Packers own the Bears. Sunday football here. We got the Jaguars and the Eagles. I'm taking the Jags here. They're home away from home. Get a big win over the Eagles here. Taking the Texans here over the Titans. The Browns over the Jets because I think the Browns are better than the Jets. I got Cincinnati beating Miami. Indianapolis beating Pittsburgh. I think Indianapolis is better than Pittsburgh. I have the Patriots getting revenge over the Raiders from last year's loss. And I have the Broncos beating the Chargers, improving to 5-0, 2-0 in the division. And here I'm going to stick to my guns. I think this will be the two biggest wins of the Falcons season this year will be the Ravens and the Chiefs. And I think the Falcons, or not Ravens, Ravens and the Chiefs, they beat the Ravens here to sit in first place of the entire league for a minute. Rams, Bills. I think the Rams beat the Bills here. Bills fall to 2-3, getting swept by the LA team. As we move into week 6, Thursday Night Football, potential preview of another Super Bowl matchup. Seahawks, Broncos. I'm taking the Seahawks here. They finally end the Broncos' undefeated win streak. as they end their undefeated season here in Week 6. Sunday Night Football, Sunday Football, I have the Saints responding, getting a big win over the Giants. I have the Eagles beating up on the Panthers. I have the Bears going into Atlanta, beating the Falcons. I have the Rams beating the Cardinals. I have the Packers beating the Cowboys because they always beat the Cowboys. I have that could be around the time I think Micah Parsons is back. I have the 49ers beating the Commanders here. I have the Bucks going into Pittsburgh and beating Pittsburgh Steelers. I have the Patriots beating the Jets. I have the Titans beating the Colts. I'm going on the limb. I want to see the Browns upset the Ravens. I have the Bills beating the Raiders. I have the Jags beating the Texans here, as I'm going to have them split. And then I have the Chiefs going in at home beating the Chargers here. As I'll be like, oh shit, the Chiefs are back. The Chiefs are back. Week 7, Thursday Night Football, taking the Bears. I'm going to take Atlanta over the 49ers here. I'm taking the Panthers over the Bucks here. They play well at home. And I think the Bucks are really going to be, they're not going to be as good as people think. I have the Packers beating the Lions, even though it's not on Thanksgiving. I have the Eagles beating the Rams. Eagles beating the Cowboys here at home on Monday Night Football. I have the Colts beating the Vikings. Texans beating the Giants. Broncos beating the Cardinals. Rams beating the Raiders. Saints beating the Steelers. Chiefs beating the Seahawks. Ravens beating the Bengals. Jets getting revenge on the Dolphins. And the Titans beating the Browns, who are now 2-5. So that will be our Week 8. I'm going to start passing this because we're already at 22 minutes. Thursday, I'm taking Green Bay, Dallas, Detroit, Tampa Bay, Washington gets revenge, Seattle, taking Cincy, taking the Jets, and now I'm taking the Raiders. Taking the Raiders here. I'm taking the Browns as they get revenge on the Steelers. I'm taking the Jags, who improved to 6-1. I'm taking the Bills here at home. Get a big win over the Ravens. I'm taking the Chiefs here. Get a big win over the Broncos here. And then I'm taking the Patriots here over. And then finally Sunday, I'm going to take the Rams over the Chargers for the Battle of LA. Let's move into the next one. Week 9. Rams over Commanders. Eagles over Giants. Seahawks over Cardinals. Bears over. Take the Saints here in this situation. I'll take the Cowboys here in this situation. Lions. I'm going to go on a limb and say, no. Broncos beat the Panthers. At this time, I think the 49ers start to falter, so the Raiders get their 3rd win of the season. I think Atlanta beats Cincinnati. This is a big win for Atlanta. Like I said, I'll add that. The 3 biggest wins of the season, I think, will be Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City. I have Green Bay beating New England. I have the Bills going into Minnesota getting a win. I have Baltimore beating Jacksonville. I have the Chiefs beating the Jets, and I have the Texans beating the Chargers, who have now faltered to 4-4. Week 10, 7 games left, or 8 games left, including Week 10. Thursday Night Football, I'm taking the Giants over the Commanders. I'm taking the Saints over the Panthers because they've swept them. Taking Green Bay over Minnesota. I'm taking the Rams over the Cardinals. I'm taking the Cowboys over the 49ers. Like I said, I'm sticking to my guns. I think this will be one of the 3 biggest wins for Atlanta. They beat the Chiefs here. I got the Raiders beating the Seahawks here. Lions beating the Patriots. Jags beating the Texans. Bills losing to the Jets here like they usually do. I have the Texans beating the Browns. I have the Colts beating the Dolphins. I have the Bengals beating the Steelers, and I have the Ravens beating the Chargers. Chargers have now fallen to 4-5. Week 11. Thursday Night Football. Texans. I have the Texans beating the Colts here. I got the Titans going in Dallas, getting a win. I have the Bears beating the Saints here at 7-3. Bills, Miami. I have the Bills always usually win at home. I have Kansas City. I actually have Kansas City losing to the Cardinals here. Detroit. Tampa Bay has had Detroit's number lately. I think Tampa Bay goes into Detroit and gets a big win. The Mexico game, I have the 49ers beating the Vikings. Panthers, Ravens. I'm taking Panthers here in this situation because I think the Panthers will go on a run here. Chargers, Jets. I think the Jets again get another upset. They beat up on the Chargers. The Chargers are 4-6. They're falling hard. Broncos, Raiders. I think the Raiders swoop in and get a big win over the Broncos. Jags, Giants. I'm taking the Jags. Eagles, Steelers. I think Pittsburgh gets the best of the Eagles here. Gets a big win over the Eagles. Bengals, Commanders. I think the Bengals swoop in and get a win over the Commanders as we get closer and closer towards the end of the season. Thursday Night Football, Bills, Chiefs. Bills always play the Chiefs hard and beat them in the regular season. It's the playoffs that they don't. I think the Bengals beat up on the Saints here. I think the Saints start to falter a little bit. Packers, Rams. I think the Rams beat the Packers here. Lions, Bears. I think the Lions get a big win over the Bears. I think the Eagles. No, I think Dallas beats the Eagles here. Takes over the division. Falcons, Minnesota. I think Minnesota continues their success over the Falcons here. This is where Atlanta falters, I think. 49ers will lose to the Seahawks. I think the Cardinals beat the Commanders here. Gets their third win of the season. And I think the Panthers beat the Bucks here, sweeping them. So they move up. Giants will beat the Colts here. The Colts fall to 4-8. I think the Steelers will beat the Broncos, who start to slowly falter here in a little bit in this prediction. Ravens will beat the Texans here, getting a big win over the Texans. The Dolphins will get a big win over the Jets, sweeping them. Raiders, Browns. I think the Raiders will turn around and get a big win over the Browns, improving to 6-6. Jaguars and Titans. I think the Jags secure it with a win, 4-0, 2 wins away from winning the division. Patriots, Chargers. I think the Chargers continue to fall here. Sorry, Derek. If you don't know who Derek is, he's one of my buddies. He is a big Chargers fan. Moving on to Week 13, we got Thursday Night Football, Chiefs, Rams. I'm taking the Rams here to beat the Chiefs. Gonna take the Titans here. Big win for the Titans. Take the Bears over the Jaguars. I think Atlanta loses to Detroit here in a tough loss. I think Green Bay beats the Saints here on the road. I think the Giants beat the 49ers. I have sitting at 6-6, only a game back of the Falcons is the Panthers, and they still have yet to play again. The Cowboys and Seahawks. I think Cowboys beat the Seahawks. Like I said, I think the Seahawks are going to falter here. I have the Chargers finally getting a win back here. Finally, after losing a lot. I think losing like 4 straight. They beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have the Bills sweeping the Patriots. I have the Broncos beating the Dolphins here. Actually, no, I'm going to have the Dolphins since I haven't them falter. I have the Bengals beating the Browns. And finally, the Texans beat the Steelers here as we get closer and closer towards the playoffs. Thursday Night Football, taking the Patriots here. Taking the Ravens. Taking the Texans. Taking the Falcons here against Cleveland. I think Atlanta gets a big win over Cleveland. I think Miami gets a big win over Chicago. Back-to-back wins for Miami. I think Detroit beats Tennessee, ending their little run. I think Philadelphia beats Indianapolis. Buffalo goes into Green Bay and gets a big win. The Rams beat the 49ers. The Seahawks will beat the Giants. And I think the Panthers will turn around and sweep the Saints. Broncos, Raiders. Chiefs. Jaguars. Those are my predictions for week 14. Again, like I state, this is not my actual predictions. This is more of a fun prediction we're doing. All right, Chargers, Bills, Packers, Browns, Panthers, Cardinals, Eagles, Commanders, Bucks beat up on the Saints here. Rams, Vikings. Oh no, Lions. All right, here's a big one. I'm taking the Texans here on a big win. I have the Bears beating the Packers, Seahawks beating the Rams. I have the Commanders beating the Vikings. And here's a big matchup: Bucks Falcons. I'm gonna take the Bucks here as the Panthers will slowly take over the division. Saints will beat the Cardinals because the Cardinals suck ass. The Lions will beat the Giants. Broncos will beat the Bills. Bengals will beat the. There we go. Two of the young hottest teams in football. Zeretas get a big win. All right. We're almost there, towards the end. I got the Bengals securing first place in the division. The final week of the season. It's going all the way to January 10th. Damn, dude. Rams beat the. You know what? No. Seahawks beat the Rams. Cardinals beat the 49ers. Saints will beat the Bucks. Lions will beat the Packers, but the Packers already clinched the division. Vikings will beat the Bears. They carry the division. The Eagles will win the division. After the Eagles beat the Giants, Falcons will win the division by beating the Panthers. In this scenario. Just like I said, remember, this is not predictions for the overall season. That'll be in a couple weeks. Got the Broncos beating the Chargers here, securing the second seed, hopefully. I have the Raiders beating the Chiefs, who are barely holding on. Texans beat the Titans here, ending their season at 7-10. Impressive season for the Titans. The Bengals finish their season. They secure the number 2 seed with a big win here. As the Ravens will finish 11-6 in our scenario. The Dolphins will get a big win over the Patriots. And the Jags, who've already secured the number 1 seed, will sit there and hold the number 1 seed. As the Bills beat the Jets here at 12-5. That's how we finish the regular season as we move into the playoffs, folks. Playoffs have begun here, folks. Many teams introducing their new stadiums to first ever playoff games here. We have The Bills hosting their first playoff game in the new Highmark Stadium. The Falcons hosting their first playoff game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Let's kick it off, folks. Here we go. We start with 4 and 5. The Bills move on as they beat the Texans, finally getting the monkey off their back. Broncos and Ravens. Oh, it's a good matchup, but I believe in Denver. Denver beats, because Lamar Jackson can't win come playoff time. Bengals, Chiefs. Joe Burrow sends Patrick Mahomes' ass home. Early on in the playoffs, we go to the NFC. Here we go. Eagles, Cowboys. We'll go left to right. Or right to left. Eagles, Cowboys. Alla, alla. We them girls. As the Eagles defeat the Cowboys here in a good situation. Falcons and Lions at home. And here in Atlanta, the fans are going nuts. Tua Tagovailoa or Michael Penix. Doesn't matter. They get the job done. They get a huge win on a last-second field goal. They move on to the next round. Packers, Seahawks, rematch. These two teams hate each other. But the Packers get a big win, ending the Seahawks repeat. Divisional round, here we go, folks. Bengals, Broncos, Rams, Falcons, Packers, Eagles, Jaguars, Bills. We start from the AFC up to down. Bengals and Broncos here. Joe Burrow feels the noise. He feels the noise, and he sends Denver home with a beautiful performance, getting his team in field goal range. McPherson kicks the game, if he's still the kicker, kicks the game-winning field goal as the Bengals head back to the AFC Championship game. The Jaguars and Bills, Trevor Lawrence looking to get revenge. He will get his revenge as the Bills fail to beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville this time around, as Trevor Lawrence and his head coach, Liam Cohen, take the charge down the field with a last-minute game-winning touchdown. NFC, we start from bottom to top. Packers, Eagles, rematch. The Packers. Go, Pack, go! The crowd going nuts in Lambeau Field, and the Packers get the job done, sending the Eagles home, as the Eagles are way too banged up around this time to get the win. Moving to the NFC Championship game is the Green Bay Packers. Now the Rams and the Falcons. The Rams, Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, both on the team. Trent McDuffie looking to take a charge, and that's what they do. They make Tua or Michael Penix a living hell, and they shut out the Falcons, getting the win to go to the NFC Championship game. We have Jaguars and Bengals here versus Rams and Packers. This is a big matchup. Jacksonville hosting, their first ever first, because the Patriots hosted that game. Jaguars hosting their first, if I'm correct. Let me see that. Let me check that. I gotta check that. Jacksonville. Oh, they did host one in 2000. Okay. So in 2000 they hosted. So this would be their second. So their second time they're hosting the AFC Championship game. So the Rams, Packers, Rams, last time they were in this position, they lost last year to the Seahawks. This time they're home. And they get the dub. The Rams are going to the Super Bowl on a big matchup. The Rams are feeling high. There's the third time a team that has hosted the Super Bowl will play in the Super Bowl. The city that hosts the Super Bowl, the team that plays there will play in the Super Bowl. Jaguars, Bengals, Joe Burrow firing on all cylinders. Trevor Lawrence can't keep up. The Bengals win by 3 scores. The Bengals are going back to the Super Bowl after 3 years of heartbreak. Cincinnati is back in the Super Bowl in this scenario. They have the defense. That defensive line has been nasty all season. Joe Burrow having an MVP-like season. Goes to the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford goes down, gets hurt. Oh no. Ty Simpson comes in throwing darts. It's picked off. Pick 6. The Bengals win the Super Bowl. That is our predictions for this for this week. Next week we'll have another silly predictions, but then the final week we'll have our actual predictions, which I think will be more closer to what I think it is. Rams, Broncos. But thank you guys. Anyways, that is all the time we have for today. I will see you guys possibly Wednesday for MLB Hot Shot Takes in the morning. See you guys later. Bye.